Welcome to my end of year Point Blank edition. In this edition of Point Blank, apart from giving you the stories that I think were really consequential, just not in my life, but in the life of many people, especially we Nigerians or Africans, but in the lives of, the way people have seen 2016, I'm going to go through a lot of really good stories. Some nice, some funny, some unfortunate. But I'm sure there's stories you want to relive. And that's how I'm going to approach this last edition for this year of Point Blank. My name is Patrick Omosage. You know how to reach me, and you have reached me, and I'm very grateful for that. And many of you have spoken to me through my Twitter handle, which is PJ Osage. Many of you have also rewatched many of our programs or this program on our YouTube channel. Go ahead and keep doing it. Spread the word. Let people see and watch what we have to say here. So once again, welcome to this last edition for the year of 2016 of Point Blank. Patrick Omosage is my name. I'm going to take a quick break. When I come back, I'm going to relive some of the really good stories of 2016. Stay tuned. Welcome back. When I say I'm going to relive relive a good story of 2016, the first one, and I call it a good story, and I'm sure most of you have about now forgotten, but I'm going to just label it the bread seller that turns into a fashion model. Most of you have forgotten her already. Olajumoke Orishaguna was a bread seller who, for some reason, fell into the lens of a professional photographer who was doing something else, was filming or taking the photographs of another star. And I guess in looking back at the pictures she had taken, she noticed that bread seller. And it fit right into what she has dreamed of. She went in search of this young lady, found her, and as they say, the rest of her life has changed. Even though most of us have forgotten that really good thing that happened to her. But it's a story that sticks with me for 2016. That things like that could actually happen, to someone that had no clue about what modeling is. But we raised her from the death of, whatever she was doing, which she was hawking bread on the streets of Lagos. Whether you like it or not, it's probably one of the better stories of 2016. The bread seller turns fashion model. Great story. Another good story is one that is really, it's a political story. It's the story of a former governor of Anambra State, Mr. Peter Obi. He was in the banking industry before he went into politics, but he did give a speech in October, which really blew the internet away, at least the internet in the way we Nigerians cover it. People were surprised and impressed, and the discussions about what he said lasted far beyond what most stories would last on the internet. The discussions of the substance of what he had said. Now, what did he say? All Mr. Peter Obi said was Nigeria wastes a lot of money. We do things in the wrong way. We spend on things we shouldn't be spending on. He tells about a story of the president at that time when he was governor coming to visit. And his people wanted him to almost rebuild a guest house for the president. He said, no, I would move out from the government house, my governor's mansion, for the president to stay there for the couple of days he's going to be around. He talks about how his kitchen staff tries to feed him with food meant for 50 people when it's just maybe him and his wife living in the governor's mansion. Why people were surprised at what he said and coming to almost an agreement with what he was saying is that this is something we see all the time. That's the way we've always spent our money. I know people would say it's because we're rich and all that. No. You can't get anything done the way we've done things. But again, that was a great story in 2016. So Mr. Peter Obi is someone on the list. I mean, the reason I'm even doing this, and I'm going to talk about 10, 11, 12 stories that make up what I consider the great stories of 2016. I hope most of you would go back and look through these stories and see why I consider them really great stories of 2016. When I come back, because I'm going to take another very quick break, when I come back, I'm going to touch on 3 to 4 stories that kind of really touched us, that touched our every being as humans, that touched our every being in economic, in the way of economics. But you just hang on there, don't change, don't tune that dial. Stay with me and I'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching the last edition of Pointblank this year, 2016, and I'm trying to relive with you some of the stories that I consider good stories. I don't care whether you see them as downers or uppers, but these were just stories that I consider I mean had some kind of an effect on the way I look at things. And here is one. And I know even for those of us that live out here, we do have those effects every now and then. But when it happened in May in Nigeria, it was really a stunner. It was something that a lot of past governments have tried to do. They've done it, but it has always created a lot of issues in the night. It's almost political suicide. And what is that? In May of 2016, the government of President Muhammad Buhari was able to raise the price of fuel successfully. It went from about 85 naira to about 145 naira. More like they called it deregulation. They explained it better. They carried the word out. We're wasting money. We're drowning ourselves, spending trillions of naira in order to subsidize the fuel. It was explained in a way that even the common man was able to actually see that can we continue on this line? I mean, the labor unions tried to force a strike, a nationwide strike, but the people were not really buying it. They had bought into what the president and his people were talking about. Now, did it have economic, I mean, did this create an economic problem for a lot of people? The usual thing that transportation costs will go up, food costs will go up and all that. Yes, all that happened, but it wasn't really all due to the fuel hike. It goes to the next thing we're going to talk about. Nigeria officially was in recession. Let me define recession. Textbook definition. It's a temporary economic decline during which trade and industrial activity are reduced, generally identified by a fall in GDP in 2 successive quarters. Nigeria is in recession. I know we all now joke about it, when someone says, they'll say, are you now in recession? Nigeria is in recession. There's not a lot of things happening in the country when it comes to economic development, when it comes to financial sustaining us. We're not doing a lot. And it's tough to do a lot because, we don't have those infrastructures built in that can help us, start to get out of it. I don't know how long this recession would last, but from all indications, it might be there for quite some time. But we hope it doesn't bite harder than where it is now. So those are the two things right now. The rise in fuel prices, the economic recession. The third in this group of things that happened in 2016 was kind of one of those things I personally believe was misunderstood. I actually had an entire program trying to explain this. Anybody remember who Alhaji? Oh no, I don't. I honestly I don't know his title. But does anybody remember Abdul Jibrin? He's part of the Nigerian Congress in the National Assembly. Let's call him a whistleblower. He blew the whistle on budget padding. Remember, the budget from day one always had problems. It was submitted, it was withdrawn. It was stolen, it was padded. We always knew there were issues with this budget. It took them forever to pass it. It was finally passed and signed into law. But then came Mr. Jibrin, who was the whistleblower, who said this budget was heavily padded. So budget padding became one of those stories in Nigeria in 2016 that you cannot overlook. Like I said, I had a program, an entire program on budget padding. Tried to explain it as best as I could. Do I think that what Mr. Jibrin did was wrong? No. He believed things were done in bad faith. But I explained to you, my audience, that look, budget padding is something that has been around for years. We have copied the American system of government really word for word. They pad the budget here in America all the time. They play games with the budget. You do see things attached to a defense budget that has nothing to do with defense, in the national defense. You see things in agricultural budget that has nothing to do with agriculture, but has to do with the senator or the member of Congress from the area where that money is going to be spent asking for favors. And I think we misunderstood that because we're so used to believing that our system is corrupt. I'm not saying that budget padding is right, but I think we misunderstood what was going on. And it became a huge story in 2016. I'll take another quick break, and I'll come back and tell you more of the stories that I liked in 2016. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You're watching Point Blank this Thursday, and it's the last one for the year. Before I go on, I did my program, but let me say I hope you all enjoyed the Christmas break. I hope you all had a Merry Christmas. We're looking forward to a new year, 2017. And just like we say, look, I'm wishing everybody watching me, everybody watching MBC TV, I'm wishing you all the best and what you deserve in 2017. But let me go on, because something happened in 2016, which is coming to an end now, that I think was really good for the country. But also, as a country, we must also start to question. And what is that? It's been a story in the making for many years. The disappearance of almost 300 young ladies who later became known as the Chibok girls. Some of them were released recently, or released in sometime in this 2016. One of the biggest relief you can have as an individual, that these young girls were found somewhere, somehow, and released unharmed. I would say healthy, because they are alive. I saw the pictures of jubilation a couple of days after they were released. But what we don't know as a people, as a country, we understand there was some kind of negotiation that happened. We've never really known the details. It's good that they're home. But was the government dealing with the Boko Haram people directly? Was there someone they spoke to? I'm not saying this in any kind of bad way. I'm happy the young ladies are home. I'm happy they're safe. I'm happy they're with their parents, with their family, with their friends. But we have to remember, not all of them are home. And how did we come about this? The word out there is that there was some kind of negotiation between our security forces, and we had intermediaries, the Swiss government and all that, but nobody knows what is true. Nigeria is still a bigger country where this kind of things are done in hiding. Now, if you tell me it's because due to some kind of security risk, let's say so. But for us not to know how we got these young ladies back puts a little bit of a damper in all the beautiful things happening in returning these girls. But it's one of those stories of 2016 that I'm hoping that people would always, when you look back and say it was a good year. With all that said, we also really had some really unfortunate things. 170 million, 180 million people, we die too young. Stephen Ikechukwu Keshi, Shaibu Amodu, both of them one-time national coaches of a football team. Both of them died in their 50s, early 50s. How do men of that age really just go like that? Both were surprising deaths. None of them really had an extended time in some kind of medical care, and it was one of those unfortunate things. But they just passed away just like that. I also did a program this year on our, not necessarily on our health care system, but in the fact that we die too young. Two great men of our football, of our sports, just died like that. It's probably one of the low points of 2016. I'll take a break and I'll be right back. Welcome back to Point Blank. I'm going through a lot of stories of 2016. I don't know how to categorize this story, but it was a story that interested all of us. There was a first one, or there was a first story, and then there was a second story. Like they say, there was a question and there was an answer. I'm sure most of you are scratching your head and say, where am I going with this? But it was a story that, really captured, again, the internet world, that captured the media world. And it all started with an interview that was granted by the wife of the Nigerian president, Mrs. Aisha Buhari. She granted the interview to the Hausa service of the BBC. Now, I'm going to say this up front. If this interview was not a BBC interview, I would never have believed what was transcribed, because the interview was done in Hausa. I've never believed it. But I do believe it, and it never was really even denied. What did she say? She said her husband, the president of Nigeria, is appointing people he doesn't even know. And that with the way he is going, that she might not be in any mood to even vote for him if he decides to contest when his first 4 years in office is over. Wow, that was surprising. We were still debating that how does a wife, how does a first lady really come about saying this kind of thing? And in public, I mean, to the world, really. It's more like my husband doesn't know what he's doing in power. He's appointing people that he has no clue who they are. And that, look, I'm so frustrated with his behavior that I might not even care to vote for him if he decides to come back after 4 years. We were still all over that. And was it right or wrong? Was she being disrespectful or respectful? Came the answer. The president was himself away in the land of the British Broadcasting Service in England. And he had a chance to reply. And he said it very eloquently. I don't know which party my wife seems to belong to. But I know one thing. She belongs in my house, in my kitchen. And here came the phrase that has become something we all use now in jest. And she belongs in the other room. Oh boy. That was a blaster. My wife belongs in the other room, in my living room, in my kitchen, and in the other room. Just not Nigerians, the world went on fire. Now, the argument has been, is this a husband and wife issue? Is this really an issue for the outside world to, to get involved in? Either way, it was just one of those stories of 2016 that, look, it's one of those stories that anytime I remember it, it doesn't make me laugh, it doesn't make me sad, it doesn't make me happy, but it was an interesting story. It was about a wife that was concerned about the way the husband was going, and it was about a husband that said, hey, you're my wife. I make the decisions I make. I'm not going to judge either one of them, but it was a story for 2016. I'm going to take a quick break. When I come back, I will conclude with an area that I almost always delve in occasionally, and that is sports. Nigeria went to the Olympics, and we came back with 1 bronze medal in 2 consecutive, successive Olympic Games. Nigeria has won a bronze medal. So when I come back, It's a story for 2016 for me. So we'll talk about it when I get back. Stay tuned. Welcome back. The Rio Olympics was a beauty. You're always happy when the time zone of the Olympics is to your favor. For those of us that live here in America, it favored us. So we're able to watch a lot of things. And we're able to watch the drama of the Nigerian team. When I talk about the Nigerian team, I'm talking about the entire team. And it was full of drama. The football team that was practicing and getting prepared in Atlanta couldn't get out of town. It was a whole mess. Arriving to play their first game 4 or 5 hours before the game. Being sent a letter that they should desist from what they were doing. The Nigerian football team had tampered with their identification cards. The Nigerian same football team had sat and stayed in a hotel with extra people that wasn't being paid for. That team had all types of issues. The same team was also given thousands of dollars by some unknown guy from Japan. Only God knows. You see, my country is a funny country. Till today, nobody knows whether that money has ever been cleared. But those are the kind of things that happen. But you know what? With all those problems around that team got our only bronze medal in 2 Olympics. And I guess the end justifies everything. We got a bronze from them, and so we cannot question them. That's a country of my birth. With everything that went wrong, just because we managed to get a bronze out of them, all is well, all is good, and we have moved on. The same Olympics we went to and did not have what we had prepared to wear at the opening ceremony because it did not arrive. But I can tell you, whoever was in charge was at the Olympics there in Rio himself. He arrived, or she arrived. But what we were supposed to put on did not show up. And to the best of my knowledge, nothing has happened to that person or to the people that were in charge. It's a story of 2016, and it's also a story of Nigeria. There are no consequences to our bad behavior. But look, it's been a pleasure for you watching me this whole year, 2016. I've enjoyed doing what I do. I've enjoyed coming to you with stories. I've enjoyed coming to you, telling you as I see things, point blank. And we'll do more in 2017. Happy New Year. May God bless you all. Bye for now.